Monica can move out of the way after. So, a little lighter crowd. It's tough every week, but it's thankful that Dave Dombek out here. I'm sure we're all excited for the warm weather this weekend. So let's take a look at what's going on ahead. Thanks for coming out today.
All right. Thanks for the invitation again. And I usually do try to do this once a semester, try to come in here in the fall and then again in the spring. And usually what I do, I mean, obviously we're going to talk about the current weather and a lot of stuff going on across the country today in the next several days. Interesting time. The transition seasons are always fun to forecast with the roller coaster rides going on and the temperatures and everything else going on. But I thought what I could do is I'm going to, before we get into the current weather and what's upcoming here going into the weekend, I wanted to just kind of do a little recap here on this. Let me see. I guess just right click. There we go.
You can use the
okay. Yeah. I was actually going to do a little bit of a review so far this early spring. It's been a crazy, very unusual early spring so far, and I did a little comparison to what happened in 1982. I know a lot of that's a year that a lot of people are kind of tossing around as a comparison to what's been happening so far this spring. And obviously, and then we'll talk about the current and upcoming weather. This right here, this is from a coworker of mine. He lives over on the southwest end of town, and it's like about 1.5 miles, 2 miles from here. And everybody remember 2012? I mean, it was pretty much a non-winter, no winter, very little snow. March was just incredibly warm. I think the departure that month here was like 11.5 degrees above normal, something ridiculous like that. And this is this keeps popping up, and I guess what I'm going to do.
Last option.
Yeah. Okay. So, this is March. Same neighborhood, basically the same view, a little bit different, but it's the same neighborhood. The first picture is March 21st of 2012. Green grass. Just probably a week later or less, a lot of people were cutting grass around here already. I've only twice in my life around here cut grass in March. 1998, also a very warm spell in late March, and 2012. The only 2 times I've ever cut grass in the month of March here. Forsythia is blooming. It looks like it's the middle part of spring, and this was just a couple of days ago. Sugar coating of snow, no life anywhere, no sign of any life. So, I mean, that really, it paints 1,000 words there as far as like what's going on. Here's a little monthly comparison, and I did this, and I know most everybody is already knows by now that when you tallied up all the numbers, you crunched the numbers, March overall was a colder month than February here. Just unbelievable. Here's the stats on the month of February for State College. Average temperature for the month was 34.4. The departure was plus 4.8. The highest temp was 73 degrees it got to. And of course, that was the same day we had some 80-degree plus readings down in Southeast PA. I believe Reading, maybe even Allentown got to 80 that day. Snowfall for the month, 9.7, not too bad. Get into March, the average temperature for the entire month, all 31 days, 33.4. So we were actually 1 full degree colder in the month of March, that's pretty mind-boggling when you think, because once you get to early March, your normals are climbing at a very rapid pace. It's basically about every 3 days, your normal high and low go up a degree. So that was quite impressive. It's like the actual temperatures were doing this, and the normals are doing, so the split between the two was getting greater and greater, and then it continued, of course, into April so far. Your departure last month, minus 3.9. Your highest temperature the entire month, we never even got above 60. All of last month, 58 was the highest. Our snowfall for the month, 6.9 inches. Now, so far, this April, I actually didn't get the stats through the 11th. This is through the 10th. The average temperature, 36.8. The departure, minus 8.7. Quite impressive for 10 days of the month. Highest temperature, again, this is through through the 10th, 55 degrees. Your snowfall total was 5.6 inches. And this was an interesting stat. I found that days 1 through 10 in April here at State College, 8 out of the 10 days had at least a trace of snow recorded. I'd have to talk to Mr. Siret on that one, but that's probably quite the unusual stat right there. Now, last April, in contrast, we just rewinded 1 year. We go back to April of 2017, first 10 days. Your departure was actually on the plus side, plus 3.8. Your highest temperature was 78 degrees during that period, and you only had a trace of snow. Now, March 2012, that was that picture we saw with the forsythias blooming and the green grass. Get this, average temperature for the month, 48.8 degrees. Your departure, 11.5 degrees on the plus side. Your highest temperature, 77. Never quite got to 80. Back in 1998, your departure was not nearly as high, but you had a few days at the end of that month of 98, March of 98, where temperatures got into the 80s. Your snowfall in 2012 in March, a trace the entire month. Now, statistically, for those of you who have spent some time here in Central PA, maybe you're from this area or maybe you're not, but just statistically, it's around 7 or 8 times out of 10 during the month of April here at State College, you'll get at least 1 measurable snow. That's pretty common. Now, that could be a hundredth, a tenth or two. It might be several inches, might be more than that, but about 75% of the time in the month of April, you'll get at least 1 measurable snow here. So, back here. So what about 1982? I was made a reference to that, and I look back at some of the stats here from the climatology page here for State College. First 10 days of the month of March, or the month of April in 1982, you had 2 days, that was very impressive, 2 days where the max temp, not the min, the max temp actually was below freezing. On the 4th, it was only 29 degrees. On the 6th, and that was during a snowstorm, it was 31. We had significant snowstorms on the 6th and the 9th. It was actually late 5th into the 6th, late 8th into the 9th. You had 2 significant snowstorms. One of them was 4.3 inches total. The second one was actually a clipper. We got the first one, we did okay from that, but they got bigger amounts east of here. Blew up. New York City got over 10 inches of snow, LaGuardia, places like that, southern New England. So it kind of blew up east of here like they often do. The second one, we actually did better than other places. It was a strong clipper, and we got almost 6 inches of snow from that. The total snowfall, 1982 for the first 10 days of the month, was 10.5 inches. Now, interesting, if you go forward from that first 10-day period in 1982, by the 17th of that month, our max temp was 79. And then for the rest of the month, we never had a day where it stayed in the 40s or lower. The chilliest day, the daytime max the rest of the month of 1982 was 52 degrees. And I did a little comparison, look at ENSO. I know there was some comparison this year in 1982, somewhat of a difference here. ENSO, that December, January, February period, we just isolated that 3-month period. For this winter, it was a weak La Nina. It was minus 0.9. Didn't quite get into the stronger La Nina stage. In 1982-83, there was of course there was a strong El Nino. Now I believe for the 1982 one, we were kind of just neutral. But this period, again, this winter, we were a weak La Nina. So they were kind of similar, but not really, neutral versus weak La Nina. And again, it was that 82, as we were coming out of 82 and going into 83, that was a very strong El Nino winter. Here's some miscellaneous stats to keep in mind going forward as we get some of the warmth the next couple of days. The last time, some benchmarks here, the last time State College was 75 or higher, got to go back to October 15th, it was 78 degrees. Last time it was 80 or higher, October 7th, and we were 81. Talking about the pain, you know, just like no warm weather and just persistent cold. Look at some of these other departures. I mean, we think we're bad here. Look at some of these other departures from the upper Midwest. O'Hare, Chicago, minus 11.1. Minneapolis, minus 16.6. Their highest temperature has been 48. International Falls, where normally it's pretty cold anyway, 17.3 below for the first so far this month. Highest temperature 42. Fargo, almost 20 degrees below normal. 19.7 below, the highest was 42 degrees. I didn't put this on there, but Edmonton, Western Canada, they're like 22 below normal for the month of April so far. Even farther south, the departures weren't as great, and of course the normals are a lot higher, but you know, Nashville's running 6.2 below for the month. Their highest did get up to 83. Down in Richmond, 4.7 below. Their highest has been 79. So what to expect here, kind of the, you know, looking ahead, the current and the upcoming weather, big changes on the way in the next several days. We've got a noticeable warm-up that'll get underway today as we speak. It really kicks into high gear tomorrow and Saturday. Any fishermen out there, trout fishermen, opening day for this part of the state, the rest of the state of Pennsylvania, the general trout fishing season. And so we've got some great weather for the opening of trout on Saturday. We've got a backdoor front that approaches during the second half of the weekend, followed by either cooler or much, much chillier weather on Sunday, depending on which model is going to be correct here. Either way, the temperature is going to be lower. They could be way, way lower with a strong easterly flow and upsloping, and it could just be a whole nother story here if NAM. We'll get into some of that in a little bit. As far as the weather Sunday, a little bit of rain or drizzle at times, probably not a lot. Maybe we get less than 1/10 of an inch of rain the entire day, mostly more of a nuisance type thing, annoyance. And then we get a pretty major rainstorm here Sunday night into early Monday, and then much colder air arrives, looks like Monday night. Tuesday, I would sum it up and call it winter-like. I mean, it looks like it's awfully chilly here, windy, and just a pretty nasty day next Tuesday. I'm going to go through a sequence of maps. These are not the actual analysis. They were off of the Euro from the 0Z run, but they're for 12Z today. They're going to be pretty close to what actually is reality here. We'll start way up above, and then we'll kind of work our way down the atmosphere. This is our 200 millibar winds here from earlier today from 12Z. See a pretty strong jet streak there in the upper Midwest and northern plains. Here's our 500 millibar. Again, this is from this morning, 12Z. And you can see a pretty good short wave vortex coming down through the upper Midwest there. You've got, you can already see that, you know, the building ridge that's going on over the middle part of the country. And then you've got, of course, a pretty strong system coming into the west there. Your 700 millibar kind of tells the story there. You can see with the satellite loop, and that's basically matching up pretty well from this morning. That zone of cloudiness extending from the Great Lakes southeastward into the mid-Atlantic states, and that's associated along that warm front. A lot of drier air in the mid-levels farther west and south. Of course, you have the system out west. Your 850s, and that red line there delineates your zeros Celsius line. And so you can really see, and look at the wind barbs there, see nothing but warm advection going on. You got a lot of much warmer air out in the middle part of the country that's headed in this direction. And the cold air that's over the northeast, the lingering chill, will be retreating here very soon. This is your surface pressure. Internally at AccuWeather, we could plot up these maps. This is actually, and the gradient's like, it looks a lot worse of a gradient than what it really is because it's analyzed every 1/10 of a millibar. So try to do that, tell Mr. Saret there in his class to analyze it every 1/10 of a millibar. So, but it tells the story. Very easily, you could get a quick snapshot on that pressure analysis. You can see where your clipper low is. It's pretty well defined low it's heading up through Michigan at this time. Actually, it's over Wisconsin, but a couple of hours later, I just checked it a few hours ago, it's up into Michigan now. And that looks like it's going to be over maybe near Ottawa by this evening, sometime early tonight, and then that'll track, maybe over to Maine and then eventually out into New Brunswick sometime tomorrow morning. So it's a quick moving clipper type system that'll run by to the north of us. You can actually kind of see where the warm front wants to be there, where the kink of the isobars is. So radar from this morning, again, kind of tells the same story. The same arc of cloudiness and moisture is also where most of the shower activity is going on this morning. That was just a quick snapshot of our visible, what that looked like this morning at 12Z. Of course, what you're seeing now is some of the cloudiness pushing pushing farther east, and you're also getting more breaks in the cloud cover on the western side of that now into western PA, eastern Ohio, and even getting into central PA here. So everything is shifting on eastward. That was your surface plot from this morning. And again, you could just kind of take a look at your wind barbs, take a look at your temperatures, your dew points. Dew points are, they're staying fairly low. Again, you're looking into the warmer air south and west of here, and it's not like, you're going from, 30s dew points all of a sudden to 50s. I mean, the air's fairly dry, and you got to get pretty far south and west even to get into some 40s dew points. But certainly the temperatures are coming up nicely, as you can see that, and of course you can see the lingering chill north and east of here. This is from SPC, the convective outlooks. Today didn't look all that impressive. The next couple of days could get very interesting, where you do have higher dew points coming up from the Gulf. You got some more juice to work with in there with that strong system coming in. Eventually it's going to go neutral to negatively tilted as it gets farther eastward with this strong system. So I think there's a pretty good potential here. They've got an enhanced area, fairly large enhanced, and a slight risk area as well. So things are going to get quite interesting in the middle part of the country for day 2 in the convective area. And then day 3, of course, that shifts a little farther eastward. The focus is more in the south, really from the Tennessee Valley or so on southward to the Gulf Coast. I think is your main threat area for any severe weather going forward here the next couple of days, which makes sense. But you do have, a marginal area that almost into, well, it's up to Cincinnati, just about to the border there by Charleston, West Virginia. So you could have some, maybe some gustier storms, maybe not severe per se, but you could have some stronger gustier storms up into the lower Ohio Valley on Saturday. We got a snowstorm going on as well. I mean, this is our kind of, Thursday night tonight, right on through Sunday, kind of a longer time frame here that we're dealing with. But this is where there's still some hardcore winter weather going on in the next couple of days. This is a very major storm. The interstate routes, it's south of 94 for the most part, but Interstate 90, there's a stretch of it that's really going to be greatly impacted here from the storm, kind of right through the bullseye of the heaviest snow. So from an impact standpoint, of course, it's an area not in a very populated part of the country, but still there's a lot of truck traffic, a lot of people use interstates, and so that's going to be a big impact next couple of days. I just wanted to give you a sequence of the 500 millibar, kind of what this looks like going forward. We saw this morning, and then we're going to see what it looks like. A couple of snapshots here. Let's go to Sunday morning. And there's your system. There's your strong trough, and it's probably closed off at that point. Maybe over, what is that? Maybe over southeast Iowa or so. I mean, it's a pretty deep trough at that point. Sunday morning. You could also see the ridging going on in the east, and I think that's the key thing. We'll talk about backdoor fronts and everything in a little bit, but a lot of times you like to see your best progress of backdoor fronts tends to be from the ridge axis on eastward. So it looks like, New England down to New York City or so, that's a no-brainer. It's got plenty of room to get a backdoor front progressing south and westward, which it will. Now here you fast forward another 24 hours later, you go to 12Z on Monday, and notice, of course, the closed low has now shifted up east of Lake Michigan, up into northern Michigan. But notice the tilt of the trough there. It's negatively tilted. That's a deep and pretty potent looking trough. When you get that negative tilt there, that's a sure sign that you're going to get some very interesting weather going on. It's going to be able to, squeeze out whatever moisture is available, which is considerable. I took a look at some of the PWatts for that period, Sunday night into Monday in the eastern part of the country. You've got a lot of places 1.3, 1.5, or even higher. So you got a lot of juice to work with. And there's Tuesday. Go again, fast forward another 24 hours later, still has that negative tilt. It's shifted eastward a little bit, but boy, look at the heights. What is our height here? 530, probably sub 534, 533 or so height. So cold air aloft. Wouldn't expect to see much, if any, sunshine. If that's right. Any sun is quickly self-destructive variety this time of year with that type of a height field. So looks more like you remove the rest of that, and it looks like a November 500 millibar pattern there. Now, talking about, this was from the 6Z run, and honestly, the 12Z, I took a quick look at it. I didn't get a chance to put it onto my PowerPoint. The NAM is extremely aggressive with this backdoor front. Both how far it's pushing it and how aggressive it is with the cooling. And if you look here, this is the streamlines. This is the 1,000 millibar streamlines. Just look at the wind barbs there, and you can see where the backdoor front has made it. I mean, look at this. If that's right, that backdoor front is way past us. This is 12Z Sunday. It's actually come through, and if you look at the sequence, it's forecasting a backdoor front to come through here like late Saturday or early Saturday evening, something like that. It's pretty quick in the game. The GFS is in another world. I didn't get a chance to really study the. Hi, Bill.
Hi. Sorry, we're late.
We were at a college meeting. I apologize.
Didn't get a chance to look at the latest GFS, but the earlier run, the 6Z run of the GFS was very, forget it. There is no backdoor front here. It's a warm day. It never makes it. The Euro was kind of in the middle. The Euro it's cooler Sunday, and it allows for some temperature rise to a point. And then if you really look at the soundings on the Euro from the 0Z run, you've got that east-southeast flow, and if you just watch what's going on, and you look at the gridded numbers, it's actually cooling here Sunday afternoon, according to the Euro. So it's kind of in the middle. It allows it to get, it's still kind of mild. It's cooler, but it's cooler than the next 2 days. It's still sort of mild, and then it actually have falling temperatures during the day, down through the 50s, maybe into the 40s. And so what the answer is going to be, time will tell, but just climatology in early spring says that if a backdoor front makes it, let's say to eastern PA, gets into Philly, gets into Allentown, especially if it gets to the Susquehanna Valley, what's going to stop that air, that chilly, damp ocean air, from continuing to come back here into the central mountains, especially with warmer temps out to the west of us, lower pressures? What does that usually do? In my experience, anybody that's lived around here long enough knows if it's warm out to the west of us and you got all this ocean air just sitting 50 miles away, it just sucks that right back here into the mountains, and it upslopes and gets right back to the Allegheny front. That's usually what happens in those situations. So in my opinion, the backdoor front's going to make it here. There is going to be cooling. The question is the timing of it and the degree to which it cools here. And again, watch the NAM usually does a very good job with low-level chilly air, especially when within that wheelhouse of it, the 36, 48-hour time frame. It's a little bit far out to put just all your eggs in one basket and say that's the gospel, that's what's going to happen. But if it keeps singing the same tune here, and we're 24 hours later, and it still has the same idea, and you're looking at 2-meter temperatures on the gridded numbers of +3, +4, something ridiculous like that. That's probably going to happen. And it's not going to be in the 50s here. It may not even be 45 here on Sunday. It may be like 38 or 40, something ridiculous like that. Maybe that's extreme, but I think the backdoor front is going to make it. But I wanted to show that on the streamline analysis. Now, we're going to go through some of the, again, this is from the 6Z run. The 12Z run, I looked at that. It's very similar, give or take a half a degree or so. Very similar solution. Focus on the first column there, 2-meter tenths. You can just see, look at the drop off there. That's very impressive from 18Z on Saturday to 0Z. I mean, that's a big, that's when you're sometime late afternoon is when it's forecasting that front. Look at that, 18Z on Sunday, +2.4. Probably not even getting to 40 degrees here. That's right. Well, that's the NAM. Here's the GFS. Totally different world. Now, it's not the 23.4 like it is Saturday. It's cooler. You got lower temperatures, but la-di-da, you know, you're in the 60s here. 12Z, you're 14.7, 16.9, 17.1. It's a mild day. It's cooler than Saturday, absolutely, but it's still very mild. It's saying that basically there is no backdoor front to speak of here. It's cooling by way of, it's cloudier and it spits out some rain that day. Now here's the euro. Interesting what the euro does, that you have that drop off, you know, 6Z on Sunday, 12Z. You're kind of hovering, you know, near 10. So it's still kind of mild. It allows some rise Sunday morning and into midday. You're at 14.6 there, but then it drops it in the afternoon. And again, if you look at the soundings, if you look at every 3 hours, it does have temperatures falling here on Sunday afternoon. So that's kind of the direction that internally over at AccuWeather that we went with our forecasts. My gut feeling, I think if I had to do it, and it was Dave weather, it was Dave Dombek weather, not AccuWeather, not a consensus weather, I would go cooler and maybe by a good 5 or 8 degrees myself. That's just my experience with backdoor fronts in this part of the country this time of the year. It's climatology says they're usually pretty beefy this time of the year. Now, totally opposite case on Saturday. This looks really good. I mean, this is for anybody going out, doing anything, going for a walk, playing ball with your kids, going trout fishing, opening trout season this weekend. It looks beautiful. I mean, that's, yeah, you got some high clouds. It's not a perfect, you know, pristine looking sounding, but look at the wind barbs mixing all the way to 800. I mean, could we get to 80? I did the stats here on the last time we were 75 or higher, the last time we were 80 or higher. 80, I think, was the 7th of October. So it's been a long time. It's been over 6 months since we've had an 80-degree day here. We could. It's going to be very close. And if we're not, we're certainly well up into the 70s the next 2 days. And there's also been a battle going on all week as to, you know, which day is going to be the warmer of the two. Is it tomorrow? Is it Saturday? Tomorrow certainly you have the height rises. You got 50, 60 meter height rises. Everything is just, the whole atmosphere is warming up tomorrow. I think we're going to do very well. But the argument for Saturday being warmer, well, you have a much higher launching pad on Saturday morning, and you're prefrontal, you're ahead of that backdoor front. So that would kind of argue for a little higher, but at the same time, it might be a little dirtier, a little bit more cloudiness in that. So I think the net result is that both days are probably within a couple of each other. And so right now we kind of split the difference and went with 79 for both next 2 days. So this is the forecast, again, sort of summarizing everything from now for the next several days. We still have a little spotty shower. Look at the radar. There's still have some showers sort of flirting with the area here the next hour or two. That warm front's going through. It'll turn windy. It's already getting breezy out there. I think it'll get windier as the afternoon goes on. And we should get well up into the 60s here. It's probably going to be a later day high. It's not going to be a high at 30 or 3. It'll be a 5 p.m. or 5:30 p.m. or so high today. Stays pretty mild tonight. Patchy clouds around, only down to 54. I know some of the, I think it was the 3K NAM was actually showing little spotty shower activity, mostly north of here, northeast of here. And I think what's happening is that Clipper that's in Michigan now is going to run to the north of us, up toward Ottawa, up into the St. Lawrence. And there's a little tail of a front, a cold front, that'll trail southward to a point, probably gets down near the PA New York border late tonight, early tomorrow, maybe down into northern PA. It stops, and then it goes back north as a warm front during the day tomorrow. And with the proximity of that front for several hours, there might be a little shower activity around. I don't think it's down here. I don't think. Probably north of here, north of 80 and maybe well north of 80 toward the New York border. Might be a couple of spotty showers. But otherwise, for tomorrow, breezy, very warm. We'll have some sunshine. And again, we're going to go with a high of 79, record tomorrow at 83, back just several years ago in 2014. Saturday, again, we're still going with a 79. The record that day, way, way out of reach, 92 in 1960. Again, call it a mix of clouds and sun. I think there's at least a fair amount of high clouds around for a time. And then you get into Sunday, mostly cloudy, looks like a lot of cloudiness that day, cooler, intermittent rain and drizzle, not a lot, again, probably less than a tenth. And this is what our forecast is. We're just going to say a high near 60 early in the day, falling into and through the 50s. Again, if that NAM is right, or even close to being right, it's going to be much, much chillier than that. Will not get any higher than the 40s here on Sunday. It'll be like a night and day difference. It'll be a drastic difference one day to the next. And that is going to happen. If it doesn't happen here, that drastic change from one day to the next is going to happen east of here. We got we're forecasting a high of 80 Central Park on Saturday, 49 on Sunday, and even the 49 might be on the high side. It does look like we're going to get a pretty good soaking rainstorm here Sunday night, maybe into early Monday with that negative tilt. I would expect a good inch of rain here. You might get 1 to 2 inches. Might really pour for a time Sunday night, and probably a good chance that we get some thunder with that as well. Even if there's nothing severe, even if we're in that cool, stable air, we'll probably get some elevated convection that comes through here sometime Sunday night. I would be surprised if there wasn't, at least a flash of lightning somewhere nearby, maybe a pretty good rumble of thunder at some point. So that's the end of the PowerPoint, and I was just going to, how are we doing with time, Jake? We got a couple minutes, okay. Maybe just show, we'll just do, I had a couple of loops here, just to kind of show what we were talking about here, some of the different models. We'll start here. This is GFS, I believe. Now this is the Euro, okay. So again, you can see the sequence. There's your low going by to the north. It's kind of hinting there that there's your boundary tomorrow morning up near the New York, Pennsylvania border. Looks good here tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night on into Saturday. And then notice, that's a big high too. Now, granted, the high isn't over Messina or Burlington, Vermont. It is pretty far north. So that's an argument that, well, maybe the backdoor front doesn't have quite as much of a push potential because of how far north the high is. But certainly, you could see the way the isobars bend anticyclonically east of here. That's a sure sign that that backdoor front is in there. And of course, there's your negatively tilted system here. Very similar here solution as this comes through. A lot of rain, good downpours. And then look at Tuesday. April, middle of April, look at that. What do we got? There's a core of 528 thicknesses on Tuesday. Going to warm up. Fortunately, it'll be a one-day thing up after that. All the models are very similar to some degree or another in the sequence through the weekend as you get into early next week. A very chilly, winter-like day, Tuesday, and then a warm up on Wednesday. But it's still, the pattern is like you can't lock in any warmth. Just seem to have a very tough time. This is going to be great. We've been so suppressed with the temperatures here for so long that,
It's almost gonna be too hot tomorrow.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, people are
I'll be
gonna be
complaining
like
about
in shock here. They really are gonna be in shock.
I'll be complaining about this one.
And I wanted to, oops, I was gonna show, are we, I guess we're probably done now, right?
This area.
Okay, because I was gonna show Marissa and Bill the, we could get that one. Let's see, we go to F5.
Oh, you want to open up PowerPoint again
Oh, yeah,
on your tab?
okay, let me just minimize that. I had a picture here, oh yeah, here we go. I wanted to show these guys a picture.
Oh, this is a good one.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
March 21st of 2012.
That
was a neighborhood just like a mile or two from here on the
Forsythia's
southwest end of
blooming.
town. Forsythia is blooming, grass, just a couple of days later, people were mowing their grass, and this is a
Look at
couple
us
of
this
days
year.
ago.
Wow.
No sign of life at all.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just
Nuts.
unbelievable. Yep,
That's fantastic.
yeah.
Well, not the result this year.
That tells the
But
story.
the fact that you did that, yeah, no, that
sums
really
it up.
does.
I mean, granted, 2020.
2012 was that outlier. That was-
Yeah, 11.5 degrees above normal or something, but.
Was
yeah,
that the year all the fruit trees got ruined?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. In fact, a friend of mine lives over in Reeversburg. He grows grapes. He has a big grape harvest every year. And he had probably 90% of his grape crop was wiped out. I think Harner's pretty much lost
Yeah,
everything.
Hunter's lost a lot, lost a lot of trees. I
Way
think.
lost, but some of the ones up on the ridge where
It didn't get as cold.
It didn't get as cold up there. Their apples were okay. But yeah, 2012 that was a nightmare for fruit growers. My buddy said this is the best thing he could hope for. This is like,
Oh, right now?
oh, he loves it because everything is going to be delayed and there's much less of a chance
Yeah.
you'll have any kind of ruination of the crop
Yeah.
of a freeze.
No
'Cause-
fresh fruit until October. but-
Right, everything, like, I always say one good thing about having cold weather, not to this extreme, but in March and early April, it's like it delays that first grass cutting. Because once you start,
Once you
it's
start, you
like
don't stop,
no looking back.
Now I notice mine's getting.
Yeah,
dry.
it'll happen very quickly because of the high sun
Once
angle.
it finally
higher sun.
does, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But
that,
there-
I'm
no
more
grass
worried
cutting.
about tree pollen, because once it gets warm for a prolonged period, they're just all gonna
Oh,
pop
yeah,
at the same time.
They're gonna pop, yeah.
It's gonna be nasty.
All right. Well, thanks, Dave.
All right,
Thanks,
thank
Dave.
you.
Another one.
And next week, Marissa is
Oh,
going to
God.
lead us off.
Oh, good meeting to go to next week, Will?
I might.
You actually might have a lunch.